Hi, this is Jen with Unchained Crochet. If you haven't done it yet, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to see more items and tutorials like this. Okay, we are back to finish up a slipper. This is part 2 of making a slipper from a square. I have yet to add my button. I've decided against the pom-poms. I'm just going to do buttons right here for accent. We are to the point where you have gotten your square as big as you need it. Mine was 11 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 rounds. Now, as far as your fit goes, I recommend that you try this on, so to speak. Hold it at your big toe. Hold where you start and stop at the beginning of your rounds. Hold that to your big toe and then see how much stretch you need to get to your heel. I would suggest at least 1 to 2 inches of negative ease, meaning you have to stretch it to fit just a bit. You want it to stay on your foot. If you make it the exact size of your foot or bigger, it's going to be slipping off fairly easily. Then we are going to take this and we're going to sew up our square at the toe end. I like to put this at the toe. I liked how I did that before because it makes it less noticeable on your slipper. I wouldn't want to make this side the flap unless it doesn't bother you, because that jog is going to show. So if you're a perfectionist, you know, it doesn't take any trouble just to turn this to your toe side and make this the toe and this the heel. Okay, so we're going to do our toe. I have marked about where my 2/3 line is. Okay, not sure if you can see all of this, but you'll get the point. You're going to fold this in kind of like you would a nice letter, a nice business letter. Put your corner in and your other corner over that, just to see if you are at the 2/3 mark. And I am. You want it to look like this, even. Okay, so my corner is going to the stitch marker right here. That is together your toe. Now, this is one thing to think about. This is my second slipper. My first slipper goes to the right on the fold over. So I want this to be my right here. This to be my left. So since it's my left, I'm going to point this away from my body here, so that when it's turned and this toe is gathered, it's pointing the opposite way of my other slipper. Can you see that? I did not match up my colors good, and I don't care. They're fun slippers. That's all I care about. So we're going to fold this into thirds, and you're going to open it back up. This corner will be the corner that you sew over for your flap. This is the one we're going to do a running stitch in and gather it up. I have left a long tail to do that here. It's in the wrong spot. I'm going to thread my yarn needle. You'll need a yarn needle for this. And I'm going to thread it up to this corner. And then go back the other direction till I get to the stitch marker. I'm not sewing it together. I'm gathering it up. I started to make it a different video where I was sewing it together. I forgot that all I did was gather it before. So, yeah, that ended up like being junk. I had to undo the toe because the other one I just simply gathered. So here we go. We're taking a running stitch over, under until you get up into this corner, and then just come up through the middle of your chain on your corner. Now I'm not gathering it just yet. I'm going to go back on itself and gather from this left edge for me. For you, if you're right-handed, you might be going from your right side. I don't know. Probably depends on which slipper you're doing as well. And I'm going outside in from the outside corner toward the inner corner, so that hopefully if I have enough yarn left on my needle, I can go ahead and tack down the flap as well. So this thread here that I'm working with hopefully is long enough to do that. Once this is gathered, I'll have a little bit more of it left to use. Just take your running stitch. It doesn't have to be through every stitch. That is okay. And then come up. You want to come up where your stitch marker is at. Now I'm going to pull and gather this. Just pull it onto your stitch there. Right like that. And you can take an extra little stitch through the corner that you started from right here to draw that shut even more. So I have gathered my toe. You have a little bit of a hole there, that's okay. And you can actually go through a couple stitches and really tack that shut so that you can get to be able to work on your flap more easily. Now let's look at the other slipper again. Don't look at this orange part here. I'm counting from the last round I did of my square. I want to get my flap on the same stripe number I did on this one so that the flaps are evenly placed on each slipper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I am on the 7th round. I laid that corner of that flap on the 7th round, just above the corner. So that is where I want to place my other ones so that they're even. So I'm going to give this a little tug. Now I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to sew the flap down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This little orange area right there, that's where I'm placing this right here. So I'm going to take another stitch marker. I'm just going to use this little slip ring one here. And I'm right above that tip of that corner there below. To mark, this is about where I want this to land. I'm using a slip ring marker here. Doesn't really matter. I mean, you could stick your hand in there like this and put in a different kind of stitch marker if that's what you want to do, but I'm just using that one right there. Okay, so now I've got this thread outside and I want to bring that up so I can see where I'm starting from. Go up underneath there where you stop stitching. And now I'm going to hold this and I'm going to sew it down. I'm just going to take a running stitch. My hand is underneath both layers. And I'm just going to take a running stitch and stitch that down. You don't have to have a lot of stitches stitched down. And this is nice because if you've left your tail long enough, your yarn matches your last round that you did. So it's going to not show so much. Okay, now I'm going to take the slip marker out. And if I'm not exactly over that where I want to be, I'm going to stretch that. I want it on that orange. I'm going to stretch it to fit just a bit right there. And really just tack your corner down. Once you get to the corner, keep on going. I'm going to look here and check, see how they look together. This one's not been put on my foot yet, so it looks a little off. Okay, they are about the same size. I'm looking here to see if they match. That looks good to me. They look equidistant here and here. So I'm going to put another stitch marker here I'm going to move the stitch marker I just used because I got my corner secure, and I'm going to put it through the 2 layers right here. Now I'm going to not disturb this too much. I want to pinch right here in the middle so that I'm not moving this around like that. Okay, we don't want that. We want the fabric to lay nicely on top of each other and play nice. We all need to play nice and be lighthearted here. But we want these 2 pieces of fabric here just laid one over the other. And you want your seam to be fairly straight so it doesn't get discombobulated. We don't want anybody discombobulated on YouTube. All right. Peace and joy, peace and joy. Love, love. All right, so that is secure enough. I can let go, and I'm going to go ahead and keep going to where I wanted them to meet up again. Definitely stop and compare as you go to your other slipper if you've gotten one done. And come back and watch the videos over again if you need a refresher between slippers. So I've made it to there. I'm going to back out my stitch marker, hold those places together right there, and go all the way to the end of this fabric below. Now, that is down. Now I can secure my tail. And just because this is going to get a lot of wear in this area, I'm going to reinsert my needle through there. It doesn't have to go through both layers at this point, but I'm going to wrap it twice and pull through for a knot. You're never going to notice that knot. And then I'm going to go back a couple stitches and then back on itself again. I'm going to take one more. I'm just going back through that seam to bury the tail. And then kind of just wiggle and everything. Some more fabric back onto. I just wiggle between the 2 fabrics to bring it back on itself. If you want to be sure that it is doubly secure, you could at this point do another knot. This is called a weaver's knot according to my daughter. I think this is it. I don't know. She suggested that when I want to be sure a thread is secure, to knot it, bury it, knot it again, and then bury it again. So that's what I'm doing here. And it's really not noticeable. So I just kind of like smushed my needle up through those 2 fabrics on the last pull. All right, now I'm just going to trim this yarn. I know that that one's been secured. I'm going to take this stitch marker off my toe. And we're ready to deal with our heel. I've got 2 slippers, close enough to being the same. Once I put them on, they'll be fine. So, for the heel, remember I said don't pay attention to this cuff here. We're going to get into the cuff in just a few minutes. What we're doing is we're going to fold it, and we're going to mark this far in. However far you mark on one heel, be sure you do the other heel the same. And then we're going to gather what's between those 2 corners. I'm just going to hold this up to my other 2 corners on my other slipper. And I'm going to mark there to there. So about, make sure your corners are flush, about right there. I've got about 2 inches right there. I'm going to mark that on each side with a stitch marker. I'm not holding these 2 stitches together on this part. I'm just marking them. Okay, so they're both marked. I don't have any yarn here to use. So I'm going to get some more yarn. I'm not at the yellow. I really would prefer that it be somewhere in the same tonal range, a yellow or gold. So I'm going to pause here and grab another skein of this yarn and go ahead and get some yellow or gold out. Okay, I'm grabbing this other skein, and my gold starts around there, so I'm just going to slub off some of this orange and purple till I get to some gold. I don't want that bright orange in it. Okay. This is here if I want to use it for something. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it just as is and undisturbed for now. I'll probably put my extra rainbow yarn into a baby blanket eventually. So you don't need a huge long piece. We need enough to gather up and sew the heel together. You could also, not a suggestion and not what I'm going to do, but potentially you could start here at this corner and leave your working yarn attached. And you can go down into here, gather this up, stitch together, and then your working yarn would be right here to start your rounds for your cuff. Does that make sense? You could start right here, go to here, start your gathering, gather that up, stitch your seam together, and have your working yarn right there. You know what? I'm just going to try it. Give it a go. So once again, you're with me on this experimental ride. I'm going to leave this this yarn attached to my ball yarn. And just see how that works. Then we'll have less ends to bury. So I'm going to come from this corner here, either corner, make my running stitch. This part is not gathered. Just getting a good start on it. Let me get some yarn off of here. I said yawn like I had an accent. And it makes me want to yawn. Just hearing the word, saying the word, reading the word yawn, somebody yawning, breathing deep, it'll all make me yawn. So we don't want to sew these together. We're gathering them. So we've got our running stitch, and I've got plenty of yarn here to take my running stitch, gather that up, and then sew this little bit together. And then this is going to be here for me to start working with to go around for the cuff. All right, so you can open this up at this point, just like we did the toe. We're going to go back and forth across our double crochets. I did not think about doing this and leaving that attached to the ball yarn on my first one. It was kind of my prototype for this heel. So this is a better method. I'm all for improving things as we go along. This yarn is orange. I don't care. It's okay. It's okay, Jenny. Jenny, is it okay? Is it okay, Jenny? Jenny, is it okay? Is it okay, Jenny? Okay, so keep going here till you get to your other stitch marker. Okay, now I've made it to my other stitch marker. I don't want to keep pulling this strand through, so I'm going to go around my finger a couple of times like that, holding the stitch markers together, and I'm going to gather that heel up. Just gather the heck out of it. Really pull it tight, okay? You don't want this part gathered, so if that starts to gather a bit, just let it loose and let it pull from that yarn there. You can pinch right here, right there, and hold it together and pull. We're also going to secure it even more. I'm going to back these stitch markers out. We're going to secure it even more by taking an extra stitch through both sides. Keep your little pinch going. Pull it tight. And then go back on itself once. Okay. Pull it tight again. Get that cornered up really good. Okay, now we're going to go back. Let's look at my other piece here. I have a little bit extra yarn riding on top there. That's okay, it's purple on purple. Yeah, it looks like I just went back and forth again. Sometimes I'll do what we call a mattress stitch and go between the V's on top like this so that seems invisible, but I don't care. Don't care on this project. You're just after some slippers. If this were a shoulder, I would do the mattress stitch. Just keep your running stitch going. Now, if this is your second slipper and you've come back for a refresher, to copy your other one, use your other one as more of a guide than the video here, okay? I'm just going to look at mine here. I'm going to make sure this is corner to corner. Okay. Now, you can see that there and see that one there. That's good enough for me. I'm okay with that. So, now we're just going to knot this thread again. Let me get all this other junk out the way. I've gotten corner to corner. I'm just going to go back and do another stitch in the corners since we are going through chains in the corner. And I'm going to go back, flatten this out a bit. Let's go ahead and do that knot too. Do a knot right there. Get this extra secured. And I'm going to go back and forth within that seam. And you can actually pull it and make it lay flat. Sorry, I'm left-handed. I've got to turn this around. Just go in between all your stitches here. And snake back and forth. I'm going to do another knot right here. I would like that to be a little bit more closed up. I'm going to run through here and close this up just a bit more. No one, I promise, the slipper police are not coming to your house to check your slipper. You do your thing. Just try to get them both the same. If you have to fudge it a little bit, you got to fudge it a little bit. So I've done that second knot here. I did a knot here, did a knot here. Now I'm going to go back up through the seam. Just laying it flat. Just hiding my tail. Sorry if I'm getting off camera. Now, at this point, let's cut this tail off. You can try your slipper on at this point. I'm going to leave my ball yarn here. Try your slipper on at this point. You're going to notice it's kind of taking a booty shape. I did not like how flared mine got. Once I tried it on a bit, it got a little bit too flared for me. Look at them side by side here. I have decreased on my second slipper enough, just enough that I like how it fits my ankle. So I'm going to emulate that on this next opening here. I'm looking at my opening and they are the same size. So this here, because you've not done any decreases, and the stitches will relax on you, and you're gonna get, it's gonna get distorted and stretched out basically. Okay, so at this point, the decreases are going to be up to you. I will let you know what I did. Instead of just going straight up and making it taller, I combine 2 stitches into one every other stitch. So let's start with that. I've got my ball yarn here and attached and ready to go. I'm going to go into one of these chains in the corner, and I want to, if you do that, make sure you get 2 strands of that chain above your needle. Can you see that? Make sure you get 2 strands so that you don't have a big lacy gap. And I've drawn up a loop. I'm going to chain 2. That's my first double crochet. I'm going to double crochet and half double crochet into that one. And I like to go just straight into the next one, like so. Whatever you need to do to make it look like 2 stitches joined together. Now we're going to do 1 double. The next stitch is a decrease. I'm going to double crochet part way, go into the next one, go through 2 or 3, and then go through the last 2. It's that simple. Whatever you need to do to decrease to make it fit your ankle. And if you find out from this row that that was too much decreasing for you, then just take it out, frog back, and do your decreases less frequently. So you can see there I've got the chain counts as my first double. I've done 2 stitches into one, a double, a decrease there between those 2 stitches, a double, a decrease between 2 stitches, a double, decrease between 2 stitches, a double. So at this rate, we're getting rid of 1 stitch out of 3. Does that make sense? We're decreasing 30%. That seemed to be a good number for me. If it's not, you might do two double crochets and then a decrease, so that you're decreasing 1 stitch out of 4, which would be 25%. I'm taking 3 stitches, that's my repeat, and leaving 2. As I approach this corner here at the top of the foot, I did a double crochet and I combined 3 stitches in that corner to kind of round that corner off just a bit. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to double crochet here. Now I'm going to do 3 stitches into one. This is not rocket science. My yarn got split in the middle of that. And you know what? I'm going to start my decrease right here. Because that seems to want to be the corner right here. The deepest part of the corner. I just did a decrease and that's okay. I don't care. Go ahead and almost complete your double crochet on this part on all 3 stitches. Then you've got 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and draw through all 4. So see how that brings that up with the rest of them? Now I'm going to do 1 double crochet and I'm going to go back to my normal decrease of 2 into 1. And just keep doing your every other stitch is a decrease stitch. Let me get some more yarn. I wish I knew how people kept their yarn at the ready and had enough drawn out during a tutorial. I don't know how that takes place. I always have to pull my yarn in the midst of giving a tutorial, so I'm just happy if I can keep my hands on the screen. I'm a drifter. I don't care how far you go with your stitches when you're doing a decrease. If you do half a stitch and then do half of the second stitch and then combine them, it doesn't matter. Okay, now here is my starting chain right there. And I am due for a decrease, so I'm going to take a decrease. And I'm going to go probably, I don't want to have a big huge gap. Right there I had a little bit of a gap. I did a decrease stitch and then just joined somewhere here, right there. So I'm going to do just one double crochet here. So I broke my decrease pattern, and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the beginning chain. I hope I've got my volume turned